I remember watching a prophet, Marcus Lemonis, and he was at a cupcake place. And this lady had this amazing cupcakes and cakes, and she was wanting to do this and that, and he loved the idea. He's like, what does this cost? She's like, well, we sell it for $3. I think I've got $1.50, like, or 80 cents or something. And it turned out she's like twice what she had in it. And he's like, well, what's the recipe? She's like, it's in here. And he's like, so if you get hit by a car tomorrow, we're not, who's making it? Yeah. And it was kind of comical because the episode followed her putting the recipe down and then learning how to make that in bigger batches, and then actually understanding like, oh wow, we're not making this. And there was another one. It was a guy, and I think it was cupcakes again. And it was a guy who was in New York City, and he had like 2 locations. He was getting ready to open a third.
It was the bagel guy.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's what it was. And he was getting ready to open a third. And Marcus like added all the numbers up. He's like, dude, you're losing massive money here every month. Like he wasn't calculating all the stuff. He was borrowing money from loan sharks, and it was crazy.
I just watched one last night because I love the show too. And it was a florist. Okay. And in real time, he's like, well, let's just build a $75 arrangement. And the guy's like, well, I've got an $85 order. He's like, no, let's build that one. And they go through it. The base costs this costs that, 3 of those, 6 of those, your labor built in. Sold it for $85. Get $81 in cost in it. He's like, no wonder you guys are losing money. He's like, you can't live off a $4 profit margin when we're not even factoring in your utilities, your rent, your taxes, all those components that you have to pay that you don't realize until those bills start showing up. Like, I would love to be able to run a much cheaper operation to the consumer, but there's expenses that aren't tied to the food cost, right? Rent, insurance, like payroll, like all those things that people don't want to account for. And barbecue's weird too. Like, people don't think about sauce, right? We make our sauce in-house, and it sits on the table free of charge. So how do I factor that in to my food cost?
Just making our sauce.
Right. It's about 18 cents an ounce is what our sauce costs us. So while I can't really account for it in each meal, we can do some math that says, on average, the customer uses 2 ounces, and that's kind of what we base things off of. And so you can start to even kind of add that into your food cost to get a better understanding. People don't think about dry rub. We go through 80 to 100 pounds of dry rub that we make in-house a week. Well, go to your local grocery store and buy the biggest tub of garlic powder and tell me how much you spent. It's ridiculous.
Doug, after your cast, you gotta go buy garlic powder now. What we're gonna do with it? Buy it.
Drop it off the bounties whenever you're done.
Yeah.
That one tub, the 5-pound tub, is $50 to $60. Well, we go through 5 or 6, 7 of those a week, right? And that's not built in to your, because how do I account for how much garlic powder went on one chicken wing or one slice of brisket? But if you can start to calculate that overall cost, like we know we go through X amount of pounds a week, and that costs me, 80 to $100.
Or at least know what you're spending, so you know how to attack it from different angles and try to, bump your food costs. You don't even know what you're spending on it. You're not breaking it down by the ounce.
And this is a shame on us, right? We talk about complacency, right? We were doing really well. Business was starting to ramp up with COVID, right? The ROI engine had really started to kick in. The machine learning was taking course. And so we kind of gotten a little complacent on the cost side. Well, the second COVID hit, we were like, we're gonna go look at everything. Well, in a matter of an hour, we went and found spices at about 1/3 of the cost of what we were paying. It was gonna be the hard part of having a second vendor, right? We'd just been using the same vendor, and what we realized was I can save 60 some odd % by using a different vendor for this one product. Well, it doesn't scale real well, but it definitely opened our eyes to go look at other things. Can we, whether it's ketchup or molasses or whatever.
Time we start bringing on a second distributor.
We did.
And I've seen that conversation not happen too, because sometimes there's too good of friendships.
Yeah.
And I've seen restaurants, I know a couple really well that buy from specific people because that's our guy.
Yep.
And I'm like, I'm glad he's your guy, but man, what if this place can give you a little less here or there? I give you a funny story on the sauce thing. When we were in the boat business, we were a top 3 Yamaha. We were number 3 Yamaha dealership in the country, and we were a top 20 for a couple of years. It was called the Symposium 20, and they would fly us in every 3 to 4 months, so somewhere like Las Vegas or Shreveport or Atlantic City, because we all like gambling and losing our money. And they would have basically 6-7 hours a day, 3-4 days in a row, where we would brainstorm what we were doing right and wrong. And they had a company that took it all, put it in a packet, and then gave it to every dealership nationwide. Well, they had this guy come in talking about marketing. His name's Jay Conrad Livingston, the godfather of guerrilla marketing. He's written tons of books. He's world renowned. He's Mr. Pillsbury Doughboy, created that.
Okay.
And so he came in and he was talking about the concept of there's a lot of things in your business that people in your company are telling you, but you're not listening because you don't respect their decision. And I'll give you an exact example. He said, Tabasco hired me $250,000 to come into their company for 1 week. And within a week, I was going to present to them a new branding package that they were struggling with sales. He's like, in the process, I learned that their sales are made up, majority, like 80% of their sales is used in a restaurant setting. It's not consumers buying off a shelf, it's them used in a setting. He's like, so for the whole week, me and my team, every meal, Tabasco, shake it, put it out. He goes, so we get to the final day, got the board of directors, got all these smart people in the room. And I said, well, I've got a great marketing package. We got the logo and all this stuff. He was like, I'm just going to tell you, you wasted $250,000 to have me come in now. And I'm like, what? And he goes, well, make the hole bigger. And he said the whole room looked at me. He goes, I'm sure a lot of people in this building have brought that up, but because the hole's always been this big and that's how we do it, make the damn hole bigger, because I struggled all week to get this crap out of the bottle and onto my sandwiches and all my food. And you're telling me your customers are restaurants. Their customers don't care how much sauce they dump on their plate.
Yeah. How much faster will they go through those bottles?
And so they did it, and he said that the next year their same store sales to restaurants were up 28%.
Ta-da.
By making the hole bigger. And then it kicked back on the following year. The restaurants were like, hey, we need the hole smaller. They figured it out. Yeah. And so they ended up going to the plastic cap. There's like a plastic cap they put in there that regulated it. The consumers could take off or poop it on. But it was their whole concept, like you mentioned, the sauce, was that that's something like you can't control how much a customer's going to use.
It sits on the table.
Yeah.
Well, and you have some control, like with the COVID stuff, right? For a while, we went to 100% to go. We're still probably at about 60 or 70%.
And you can put sauces in the containers.
And we do, but now I have to factor in the cost for the container, the cost for the lid.
Yeah, Chipotle just went to a better. Do you eat Chipotle much? Their lid on their hot sauce now, like it used to be, I was scared if it made it home with me before COVID, if it was gonna. Now it's like hard to get the top off. So they apparently saw, hey, we got more to go.
So there's your cost piece that adds in that nobody thinks about, right? When you're asking me for what we call a meal kit, right? It's got the fork, the knife, the salt, pepper. That's 13 cents out of my profit on that meal. Now that doesn't sound like much, but when you're doing hundreds of those a day, that adds up pretty quickly. When you don't have that on a to-go or a dine-in business, right? When you're 80% dine-in, you're washing a piece of silverware. I'm not handing out a 13-cent meal kit. So all those things. And so that's some of the stuff we looked at. Like we originally, when we opened up, and this is also, you've got buyer's eyes when you're a new business. You're like, I want to use the nicer meal kits. It's a sturdier pork so people can blah, blah, blah. Like, once you start to realize, well, that one was 16 cents and I can get one for 9 cents. Yep. That's going to do just the same job. 9 cents it is, right? So you start to look at your business differently, and you do get complacent. No matter how good you are with data and numbers, you still have to schedule those times, I think, to go back and look and go, I want to run a full look at my costs and food costs again. Oh, I didn't think about it. I haven't changed it since we changed our bologna brand, right? Well, we put bologna on a ton of burgers. We got to go look at that cost structure now. We're losing more money. I should have raised the price of my burger. And you just got to go have those conversations. And I think the hardest part is, like you and I were talking about this in the podcast earlier, when you're a single person restaurant owner, you only have so much time in a day, right? It's tough, so you've got to either have those people around you that you trust, or hire out those services. But we're fortunate in that we have 3 sets of skills that can go do that. So you can find a little more time to do those things. But if you don't have those people as part of your owners, I guarantee you have employees that would help take on some of those things out of a sense of pride and a few more hours a week. That's not going to cost you $1 million. I guarantee you have a kid working in your kitchen, or a kid who's working up front that has taken statistics in high school or college, or has pretty decent Excel skills, or took calculus, so understands basic math, and could go do some of that stuff and help you as an owner look at and go, man, your food cost is way out of whack. Your grilled cheese has gone up this much, or you're not making enough money off of your chicken lollipops because you're not charging enough. The market, like we do a market analysis 3 times a year or 4 times a year. I go and look at all the major barbecue joints around us, and it's all online. I go pull up their menus and see who's charging what for a 1 meat dinner, who's charging what for a 2 meat. And if we're way under the market value, it may be time to do a menu update and kind of get closer to the market value on both high and low, right? Oh, maybe we're $1 more than everybody else on our 2 meats. Maybe that's a place we need to trim back a little bit and make a little less on that 2 meat and make a little more up somewhere else. So you've got to go do that stuff. And it's not fun. It's not sexy. You much rather be making new recipes, right?
Well, the other aspect you can do that, I think, you can find the menu, the prices online. I was talking to a guy the other day. He does this. He treats his team to dinner and all his competitors.
Yeah.
He buys gift cards and he gives his employees, says, hey, take your wife and kids there, have dinner, come back with a report of what you loved, what you noticed. And he said it's wild because you'll get the prices of the menu. You could have gotten them online. But he's like, they'll come back like, oh my gosh, the server said this.
Yep.
The hostess did this. The bathrooms look like this. And it's an easy way, 1, to perk your employees.
Yep.
And 2, to find out, because I think a lot of businesses stay inside their kitchen too much. And you can find out, I look on a consistent basis. I'm online looking and doing webinars of companies that help restaurants with marketing to find out what's something little they're doing.
Right.
Now, I'm reading a book right now from a guy that, not a competitor, but in this marketing space kind of is. And there's been 3 things in this, but the one chapter I almost didn't read. I'm like, I got that. I didn't read that. And I read it. And I'm like, oh man, I don't got that.
Yeah, oops.
And I'm like, here's these 3 little things. Yes, something you mentioned earlier too, which I think's overlooked all the time. Places not to skip. Apparel.
Yeah.
My shirts, these shirts I use, they're New Air. It's a good quality shirt, the shorts, all that stuff. I started doing that because one of my friends, I went to his big event and he gave out a ton of swag. I can't wear the shirt. Like, it actually hurts the logos on it.
Really?
Are like poking it at my chest. The quality's cheap. It doesn't really look that great. And I spend, like, my sweatshirts, my MP sweatshirts, I spend premium on them. And I have people all the time like, hey, who'd you use? Couldn't you save this? Like, your shirt costs $15. You can get shirts for $3. I'm like, yeah, ones that suck.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want people to leave with, if they're going to leave with some swag or buy something, I want to, if there's a little margin, fine, but you want to
see something buying it properly.
Yeah.
Well, we made the mistake when we first did shirts. We went relatively pretty cheap.
Yep.
Just like, budgets are waning as you're starting to open your doors, right?
And all our cooks came in their crop tops.
They all shrank. So we got all these big cooks, right?
Yeah,
you
big cooks
see
in
our
crop
cooks,
tops.
right? All of a sudden, they're all above their belly button.
Dude,
they're
that is
like,
a big
oh,
Rex with real quick.
yeah.
We need a video on that.
We've since
Wait till we
changed
do a
shirt
calendar.
vendors.
Oh,
So
yeah.
now wait till you see that. We're gonna do the Men of Fatties calendar.
See, I had an idea to do that at our gym.
That would be more appropriate.
Because the inclination was the women, and I'm like, well, they're like, men don't mind getting left off. Like, I guarantee if we had women here, and then I came up with a better idea. We haven't done it. We talked about it before COVID. Was the moms of our gym, because a lot of women struggle with weight loss when they get in their 40s and have kids, and it's like, look, here's all the shades and shapes of moms.
Yep.
And them having fitness life.
Well, Harper's just gonna go more on this.
Yours are gonna go comedy.
Like Mark with holding a brisket.
I look like the cover to have like captain on it. Surveys expecting the most beautiful woman inside the calendar.
Yeah.
Every other page, 3 other months, just dudes.
12 months of fatties, and they got you on the front.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it goes into you like
You got Mark in a
and some
G-string
chaps.
holding a brisket.
Fat
We
bastards,
may or may
full
not
butts.
have Googled bacon bikinis.
Yeah, maybe.
Bacon.
No,
I gotta Google this. I gotta
Bacon,
Google this.
banana
Bacon.
hammocks.
But here's what you think about, right? If someone watches this and this makes the video, like they're thinking, oh, I don't have the time or the skill to do that. You know how hard a calendar is to make? You literally snap pictures on your phone and you upload it to not Spotify, Shutterfly, and they have a calendar option. You move some pictures around, boom, you print your calendars off.
You would look good at some of those.
Are you looking at Mark or me?
Mark.
Okay.
Your husband's right here. I want to, and he's got a gun.
Yeah.
I want to make it back.
Yeah.
So do I.
And so you got to have some creative stuff in your business that I think separates you, right? And you can have some fun. Like we talk about it, even though we haven't done it, we've talked about it with our employees all the time, and it's just a running joke. Like Will, who's kind of our biggest guy in the back, you met him this morning or saw him this morning. He's all over it. He's ready. He's like, I was trying to think maybe I could lay on top of the smoker, or I can, like, no, you're not climbing on my $20,000 smoker.
You couldn't climb.
you got the pole out front. You can use the sign pole as a stripper pole.
We got some with a brass pole up there. Yeah. So it's just fun, right? You find ways to talk, like even on social media, right? How many times do you see us post stuff that have nothing to do with food or our business, right? It's to engage, get people to still come back.
You can get those likes and likes.
Oh, when I come across restaurant pages, I mean, we talk to some weeks 20 to 30 restaurants, myself and Doug, and you look at some pages and it's like every day it's like our cobbler, our ribs, our burger, and then you look and it's like, hold on, you posted this picture 40 times in the past 20 weeks. It's like every third week that wing. I just came across one the other day, a brand we worked with. We quit working with them in 2017. We did their stuff for 7 years as a national franchise. They made a post the other day of a wing picture we used back then. And I'm like, y'all ain't updated this? Like,
well, you may say that about ours too, but our food is just so consistent. It looks like we're doing the same picture over and over.
Over and over.
So you start to have some fun, right? And for us, we're in a smaller community where more than 50% of our business are regulars, and so if you're posting the same crap over and over, right? Like we have people that I can count. I know within moments of posting something, the first 5 people that are comment are going to like.